gone onto the platform today and had a bit of a play around and set up some dummy records for us to go through. So our DBS online provider, First Advantage, are migrating us all over to a new platform called Know Your People. So we'll be leaving online disclosures. It does run very similarly to online disclosures, so I don't think it will be you'll be like too bamboozled by I'm gonna show you this evening. But there are some different it does look a bit different. It does look very different. So I think that's going to be the main thing to go through today. So everyone should have been sent their activation logins to set up their new logins for the platform. If you haven't received yours yet, it may be in your spam folders. If the link has expired, then please drop myself an email and we can get that resent out to you. Or if there are other people in your district who are going to be supporting the ID verification process, then do let us know and we can send them an email also. So very much like online disclosures. So very much like online disclosures, we come to the main page where you would log in. You can also set up a single sign-in, which is like, rather than using a password and email address, you can create like a login word that you can use. So some of you might decide that you want to do that feature. Obviously, if you forget your password, then obviously there's the forgotten password option. There's a help option here as well. But we'll have all our guidance on the website as we usually do. And for those for applicants, there is that registering, like we do online disclosures. They can self-register to apply for a DBS with us, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we log in. Okay, let me hide this. Okay, so this is the main dashboard. It does look a bit like, oh my God, there's a lot of colors and buttons to press, but we are literally focusing on just two areas of this dashboard. And up here we have like the navigation toolbar. So depending on your access, you'll see you'll have more options up here. For example, you'd have administration, but I don't think verifiers do. But the main thing is that we have the manage section, which is how we manage applications. And this is basically just this drop down here is basically what we have here on the left hand side, this colorful toolbar on the left. And then up here as well, where it says new applications, this is where you can create an application for a volunteer in your district. So the two things that we're going to be looking at are starting an application and managing applications. All the other colorful buttons here on the left, we can ignore completely. They relate to other types of checks that Know Your People offer, like, for example, like driving checks, identity checks, etc. But obviously, we're only using Know Your People for DBS, so we're just going to stick to these two buttons at the top. There's also the option here for clicking here and go into live chat, which is a good function if you've got any kind of questions whilst you're in the dashboard. You can just click on live chat and speak to someone in the First Advantage customer service. You can, and this here where they have the messages section, this is where they update us on any kind of DBS related news. And that could be direct from First Advantage telling us about platform itself, or it could be something that they forwarded on from Disclosure and Barber Service. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on what's happening here. They might tell you if there's any delays with applications. Well, we've had quite a few delays with the police checks section of DBS. So they're updating us there about processing times. Also here, we have this My Tasks button. And this is, you can press this button and it will take you directly to where you can go and find all the applications that are awaiting verification. So you'll go in and it might say, you know, you've got 2 outstanding, you can go in and it will take you directly to those 2 applications that need ID verification. So there are 2 ways to create applications on Know Your People. The first is create an application for an applicant in your district. So for example, you know, a volunteer's come in, they've said they've applied on the applied for membership on the website, and can you support them to do a DBS? You can say, yes, I can go on to First Advantage now if you've got access to the internet, and we can start an application, or you can go home and start an application for them. Obviously, they can go to the website themselves, but any support that we can give volunteers in helping them to get their vetting done is a bonus. So if we go to the Start Application button here, the first thing it's going to do is just going to ask you for the person's first name and surname. So let's type in here. And I've got two, actually, let's change that to test. There we go. So we're going to click the next button. Then it's going to ask you what organization this person is from. Because I obviously have top level access, it's going to give me all the options. But when you go here, it should just give you your district name. So Greater Manchester, Watford, etc. So you can have it should list here for you. So I'm going to just select Woodcraft Oak. The next page that comes up is going to ask you what type of check that you're applying for to this person. So working with children, it's always an enhanced check. So we're going to bypass the 3 checks here that are all kind of basic or standard checks, and we're going to select the DBS Enhanced Criminal Record Check. It's then going to ask you for what position is this person applying for. And here where I have a bigger drop down, but for yourselves, it should just say volunteer supervisor / carer. So that's all kind of volunteer roles. This role has been checked by the Disclosure and Barring Service, and we've told them the types of activities that this role is going to be involved in, and they've deemed the check based on the criteria we've given. So we can't move away from this list here. So we select volunteer child supervisor, and then it will tell you the type of check that the Disclosure and Barring Service say that we should apply for, the type of workforce, which is child, and that the individual is a volunteer. And they're going to be checked against the DBS Children's Barred List. There is the option to edit this position, but as I said before, the criteria has been set by the Disclosure and Barring Service. So please don't edit the position. It might be tempting if you want to add adult workforce, for instance, but we don't check the adults workforce. It's only child workforce that we've made the agreement with the Disclosure and Barring Service. If the criteria is changed, it will be flagged up and they will query it with us. So if we leave it as is, then you have the option here where you can either, if you have all of the individual's personal information and you have already done their ID verification, say they came in on the first day and they gave you all the details that you needed, then you can have the option of applying on their behalf. As long as they give you consent to do so, you can just say, who will complete the application form? And you can say, I'm going to complete the form. And then then you get to fill in all the person's personal details, and you're filling in the form on their behalf, basically. And it will take you through the steps, and I'll show you what the application form looks like in the next part of the session. And there's the option then to also send the application request directly to the applicant for them to fill it in. So that would generate an email going out to them asking them to fill in the form. So all our DBS application forms are paid for by the organisation. So this section here in the payment details, it just says invoiced. So you can leave it as is. You can't change it as it anyway. And then you have to put in the applicant's email. So let's. It will ask you to confirm the email again. And then here, there's a section here where you can put in some notes that can be sent as part of the email. So for instance, you could give them a deadline to complete the form if they want to come along to a camp or something like that. You could put that information in here, and it will be emailed across to the applicant as part of the request. So once you fill those details in, you can click the Create Application button. The system generates the application request and it's sent out. And then this is kind of like the dashboard of the application. It's been sent out and now it's awaiting to be completed. So that's one way of creating applications on the system. I'm just going to jump back out of this and I'll show you this a bit later. The second way, as I said before, if I sign out, is that the individual, as part of the kind of new membership process, all applicants are emailed with details about how to apply for a DBS. They're signposted to our website where it has all the guidance available. Obviously, that's all going to be updated because currently it's for online disclosures, but it will be changed to Know Your People over the next week or so for the launch. And they'll be directed to register. Here, like we have previously, we have the organisation list or the branch list, and it has all the districts and the district ID numbers, which is a PDF which applicants can download from our website, so they have this information to put in. The organisation ID is the old branch ID. They're all being changed, so if you have any of your own kind of guidance materials that you use, maybe in your districts or groups, that will need to be updated because your organisation number is going to be changed, and also the secret word, which has been ICAMP since we started doing online disclosures, is going to be changed. I think everyone's going to get individual access code. I'm still waiting for them to be sent over to me. But they will also be available as part of this kind of sheet that applicants can download and have that information. And obviously, it will be available for membership secretaries and verifiers to view as well. And then this is the information that the applicant will input into this section here. And then they'll put in their email address. They'll confirm that I'm not a robot, and then they'll click next, and it will take them into creating a user profile on the site, and also then going on to complete their application form. I'm just going to jump out of this and show you because I'm unable to create an application. I just wanted to show you what the candidate experience looks like. So hopefully you can all see that. Yeah, here we go. So, like I said before, the applicant receives an email, like with online disclosures, with instructions about going onto the platform, logging in, and then filling in the form. And they're given a bit of information as part of the kind of first page, telling them that they should be prepared to put in their personal information, address history, and their ID documents that they can then pre-select. We're going to ignore this page because this is about ID verification at post offices. But this section here, all of the applicants will be given this statement of fair processing, and they have to agree to give consent to applying for a DBS using their standards, etc., etc. So this is an agreement that all applicants have to complete before moving on to the next page. So feel free to go in. I'm going to send this PowerPoint presentation to you all. You can go and have a read of this and see what it says so that you can be informed if you have any questions by any of your volunteers. So very similar to the old form, the applicant will fill in their personal details, their gender, and if they've been known by any other names previously. If you do have any applicants that don't wish to, who are transgender, who don't wish to disclose their previous name or previous gender, then they can use the sensitive application process, and they will have to contact the sensitive team, and directions are given on the application when they're completing it. But there's also guidance about that process for membership secretaries and applicants on our website as well. So it's always good to familiarise yourself with that process, just in case that's something that comes up for you in your district or groups. So they'll be prompted if they say they have been known by any other historical name, prompted to put those names in and the date used from and to. If they are using both their current name and a previous name, and some of the documentation has their old name on, and not all, and they're using their current name as well, then the used until date should be up until the month they're filling in the application form, so the DBS know to check both those names up until present day. And then obviously the same goes with the address history. So you put the postcode in, it will predict the address, and the individual will be, you'll be able to select your addresses. It needs to be 5-year address history. Obviously, if they've been abroad, they need to also put those dates in from and to as well. So the system will go green and prompt you when all the address history has been entered, it's been enough dates and times, etc. So, and if there is a problem with the address, it will flag it up for you in red for the applicant, and they have to go in. So the system is really good at predicting if there's any mistakes, etc., and guiding the applicant through the application. So hopefully you shouldn't have any questions or queries about this part of the process, but it's always good just to familiarize yourself with how it works. Then they put in the date of birth, nationality, etc. In England and Wales, we use the DBS system, and we can't do checks of under 16s. So that's always good to bear that in mind if you're asked. I've got a question here. I don't believe they need the organisation ID and access code, no. I will double check. Then they put in the national insurance, and then they have to do the declaration about conviction, cautions, etc. Then it will take, if there are any errors, obviously it will flag it up. And then we get to the verification process. Very much like how it works on online disclosures, they are given options to choose which ID they have. Let's get to that section. The system won't allow them. So obviously there's guidance about ID check-in. The system won't allow them to put in too few IDs. It will make sure that they are following the guidance and putting in enough ID in order for the application to be processed. So enough ID from group 1. If they don't have enough ID from group 1, it will take them to group 2, etc., until they are able to fulfill the ID criteria. So they can select from the options that are available. And then as you see here, you get a progress bar that takes you across, and they can continue to select the ID they have until they complete that section. Group A, 2A, 2B, etc. So it's all the information is there. What dates and time, you know, if they have to provide a bank statement, it has to be within 3 months, a birth certificate after 12 months of issue, after all those things are noted here in the ID section, so they can make sure they're definitely selecting the right ID that they have. Once they have enough ID, and this guidance will, as I said, will be shared with everybody. Once they have enough ID, they have to put in the ID information, so their passport number, their driving license number, etc., and that will then be available for you to view when you go to do ID check-in. So that's how the application process looks like. As I said, very similar to online disclosures, and guidance will be available for applicants as well as verifiers. So I want to get back to the dashboard. How do I close this? There we go. Right. So let's look back. So let's log back in. Okay, managing applications. So as I said, you've got this manage drop down here, and you've also got, we've also got this manage applications button here, and you've got my tasks here. So there's lots of ways to get into managing an application. So let's go through my tasks. So here it's showing you that we have one application here that's awaiting verification. So the details are here. It's Leanne Powell, waiting verification, what she's applied for, when it was created, and the reference number for that application. If you had quite a few here, then you would be able to filter it by submitted in the last 30 days, completed in the last 30 days. So you can search for a person individual, but I doubt our list is going to be very long, especially at this point where we're moving over to a new platform. So what we do is that would go into the individual's application. So here along the top, we have this progress bar. So you can go in at any point and check on a individual's application progress. So obviously this bit is our section here, waiting for verification, but when it moves on, obviously it's countersigned by First Advantage. And then when it's at the in progress part, that's when it's with the police, it's with all the other checks that needs to happen. I am trying to get clarification whether we can get in-depth updates on that in progress section, like we used to before in online disclosures, where you could just hover over a person's status and be told where it was in that process. So I'm just waiting to hear from them whether that in progress thing, if we hover over it, it will give us a bit more detail about that. I just saw a question. Oh no, it's gone. Okay. So here on the application, you can see here, they filled in all their personal information, their birth details. I've made myself younger. And then national insurance, DBS declaration, what the position is that they've applied for. And then here we get into the verification part of the application. So the person has selected their passport, birth certificate, and bank statement. If when you get to meet up with your applicant either online via video call or you meet in person and they don't bring the ID that they specified in their application, then you can just click this button here and you're going to change the you can change the ID that they submitted. So you can just, it will just take you through the steps. So that's what the position they've applied for, and then oops. And then here is where you select the documents that they have provided you with, and then so forth. And then you select all of that and then put in the details of those identity documents. And you'd be able to change it that way. Okay, so we'll come back here. So say in this instance, Leanne had provided us with the ID that she inputted into her application. So here where it says the verification, as the verifier, it's your responsibility to confirm and verify the provided identity documents and application information against the applicant's details. So basically all you're going to do is you're going to have a look at the passport and make sure it's the information that's provided in this section here. The same for the birth certificate and the bank statement. If you are meeting up with volunteers, obviously via video call, you can witness the documents on the video call. But then at a later date, you will need to see the ID in hard copy. Obviously, if you meet them in person, then obviously you see the originals. We shouldn't be accepting photographs of ID or scans of ID. We do need to see the originals at some point. So once you've done those checks, then you can just confirm verification.
Sorry, Leanne.
Hi.
Can you just clarify that? Sorry, we can check documents, verified documents remotely, as long as we then go on and check them physically later. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, that's right.
Great, thank you.
That's okay. And then once you're happy with the ID and it matches what they've provided, you can just confirm verification. You can reject the check because the ID doesn't match what they've said and they can't provide anything else, or there's an issue, then you can reject the check, or you can verify it later if you're unable to do what you need to do on the day. If there are any other issues with the application and you need to withdraw it, the person decided they want to go through with completing the screening process, then you can just click this withdraw button here at the top. And then once you confirm your verification, you can just click submit, and that will be sent off for processing and countersign, etc. So that's how you verify an application that's waiting in your taskbar. If we go to the manage applications. So here we have some applications that I've just, some dummy ones that I made up today. So here is where you'd have a full list of all your applications, whether they are to be completed, awaiting countersign, or if they are what's the word? To be completed, awaiting countersign, or completed, that's the one. So for instance, obviously this is the one that we've just sent off here. You can obviously click into it and just see where the status of the application. Let's jump back out. Sorry, I'll enlarge my screen like someone asked for before. And then we've got this one here. This one was sent off to Sarah Woodies today to be completed. So she has yet to start the application process. She's received her email and will hopefully respond to that request. So with the request, they are the links that are sent out as part of the request to go in and create your application last for 30 days. Obviously, on the first day, they get their initial email requesting that they complete their form. Then they will be contacted 3 days into that 30 days, and they'll be sent a reminder, this is still outstanding. So they'll get that email, and then 10 days before the 30 days is over, they'll receive another email from Know Your People saying, you still haven't completed your application, here's the link, make sure you respond, otherwise the link's going to expire, etc. And then after 30 days, that link expires. If that volunteer's like, oh, I'm so sorry, things have been really busy, can you resend that again? You can just click this activation email button here, and it will resend them a new link to complete their form. Okay, so that's a way of just managing, knowing that those reminders are being sent by the platform, and then having the opportunity to then resend the activation email if you need to. So there is that. Obviously, if they self-registered, I do believe that they still sent reminders to go back in and complete their application. But obviously, because they have already created a login and have started the process, obviously there's no link to expire regarding that, but they are still reminded that they have an open application on the system. And also you can see here on the progress bar how they're doing with their applications. If we go back to our list, so obviously I can't show you what it looks like when a check is completed, but obviously here it will say complete. You'll be able to go in and below here where it says checks, it will then tell you when the certificate was issued. It will, I don't believe it will tell you the results. That will come directly to staff at Central. But obviously if there are any issues, then we contact the membership secretary and the applicant so that they could arrange to get their certificate witnessed so that we can risk assess whatever's on there based on our policies and procedures. And if there are any errors with the application, that will be listed here too. And it will also prompt you whether you need to reject the application, whether you need to withdraw the application and they need to start again. So that information will be provided below here if there was an issue. So that's what kind of this kind of record section looks like. I mean, I think it works very similar to online disclosures. Obviously, it just looks very different. And I think with some, playing around with the system, I think it should be okay. I think we should be okay with using it. As I said before, with the dashboard, just kind of ignoring some of the other options. So you don't, confuse yourself and just stick with the two buttons at the top. So that's how the system works. With regards to all the kind of like historical information that we have on online disclosures. I know that there's an archive section on there, and all the past applications that we processed on online disclosures, they're not moving over to First Advantage. Online disclosures is going to remain open for a period of time. They haven't told me we're going to shut it down, but it will be like almost like a historical database for us to access any past checks that have happened in the last, what, 7, I can't remember how long we've used the system, maybe 10 years, I don't know. So only new applications will be available to view in Know Your People. Any past ones, you'd have to obviously go back to the database or go back to online disclosures to have a check. Obviously, a lot of our volunteers are part of the update service, so all the renewals are done outside of either of these platforms. So it's only really new applicants that are going to be going through the system. Oh, we've got a question. Why am I not seeing these questions? Currently, when someone makes over all checkers get anyone. Yeah, that will still happen. So all that kind of automation will still happen on this system. It will literally be set up similar to how it is on online disclosure. So that's what we're working with Know Your People to make sure that will all still happen. And I do believe you might be able to also see your verifiers. So maybe that's also another opportunity to see if there's anyone who doesn't need to be there and supporting us in making sure that that's kept tidy. But I will double check whether that's possible for the level of access that you have. So that's the platform. I don't know how you'll feel about it. Well, the launch date for this will be the 20th of February. We're hoping that we'll have all our questions answered by Know Your People by then, and our guidance will be available on the website, and we'll start directing new applicants to Know Your People from the 20th and have all the kind of infrastructure around it ready to go.